Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, if Aurora will allow me, I will plunge right in before I get loved to eternity. Oh, Birgitte Ruel says, and we start off with something of some moment, and then we go on to things that are entertaining, frivolous, and serious all at once, as you will discover in a few minutes, because I'm just going to mention certain connections. I'm not even going to bother to join up the dots for you. I'm going to let you join up the dots for yourselves. She says censorship is the first step to a totalitarian state. A state cannot be totalitarian if it has freedom of expression. Freedom of expression prevents uniformity of opinion. It prevents the takeover of society by one orthodox group or concept. A free society has to have different ideas, the conflict that comes with different ideas. One could almost say the getting your back up when people disagree with you that comes with an exchange of ideas with people who are too intolerant or too ignorant to understand that growth requires a freedom of expression and freedom to break new ground. And you can't break new ground if you follow the pattern of the old ground. Marley D1 says, Dear Lady C, I am curious. Why does Meghan have a British aristocratic title and call herself Princess of the United Kingdom when she has no British citizenship? Well, she is a Princess of the United Kingdom by virtue of being married to a Prince of the United Kingdom. That is her rank. Her title is Duchess of Sussex, but her rank, which I think you will find you are hearkening back, whether intentionally or otherwise, to Archie's birth certificate. The birth certificate says rank or profession. Her rank is Princess of the United Kingdom. And that is customarily how royal birth certificates are done, with the parents named on the certificate having their rank put in. So instead of actress or hustler, it says Princess of the United Kingdom. That is her rank alone, and that does not indicate that she is a British citizen, which she is not. Any citizen of any country in the world who is married to a Briton with a title will have the right, any woman, I should say, now that men can get married to men, any woman who's married to a man who has a British title has the use of the title as his wife. Whether you're Mrs. Jones, Lady Jones, or Princess of Jones, and whatever else, that is your aristocratic title. You don't have to be British to have the right to use your husband's name. There are many American women, aside from Meghan, who are married to British men who've never assumed British nationality. They call themselves by their husbands' names or titles normally. So I hope that clears it up. And now we're going to get into the really juicy bits, if you don't mind. Mr. Red Jeans says, "Hello, Lady C. It appears the meddling Duke and Duchess are at it again, part sponsoring a report examining the role the news media plays in spreading and escalating online hate speech in Australia. Scobie," I don't know who that is. Is that the same person as Amit Scabies? The H is crowing about it on X or Twitter. Well, of course he would. "No one likes hate speech, but we have laws. Australia is teetering on the brink of another referendum to become a republic, and the King's son is now meddling in our national affairs. Harry and Meghan really are walking a fine line. Are they stupid, or do they want to blow it all up?" Well, many people would say he's stupid. Many people would say she's not quite as bright as she thinks she is, but she's not totally dumb. Do they want to blow it all up? I suspect we are dealing with a couple whose primary aim is self-aggrandizement at any cost. I do not think that either of them thinks that there is any danger of blowing anything up. But if it were to happen, that would be, well, what a pity that was. But Meg, how did that happen? How did that happen? I mean, you told me it was going to be all right. Yes, I did, didn't I? Well, it's not. And now that you're no longer royal, Agatha, would you like to peel me a grape and get Mr. Musk on the phone? Time I made a move. Mars, oh, heaven at least, here I come. Well, to be quite serious, they have no right meddling, but they are meddling. They are both meddling with the First Amendment in the United States. They have gone gangbusters as a couple to try to curtail free speech in this country. And they have achieved a measure of success that a few years ago I would have said was inconceivable. So how stupid is that? And who's stupid now? Are we stupid for not paying attention to the danger? That's the question. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to lay down the dots and the connections and the roles various people are playing in what is a tremendous push for having a uniformity of narrative with no dissenting voices, or dissenting voices are then silenced. and they have been achieving considerable, if not success, attention recently. And they play hard ball, and they are not about to take their foot off that accelerator, or as you say in America, the gas pedal. I don't believe in conspiracy theories particularly. What I do know as a fact is that you have interlocking interests and interest groups who will assist each other in the furtherance of their own limited objectives. So, for instance, Bill Gates wants to go down in history as a great man as well as a great financier, and he's doing certain things to make sure that will happen. Well, at least in his interpretation of greatness. I just use that as one example. Harry, his life's work, according to him, is to clean up the media. That's censorship. Now, we need to understand the role of the royal family vis-a-vis the press, and the press vis-a-vis the royal family, to understand where Harry's interests conflict with the rest of the family and where they coincide, rather more importantly. The royal family has a symbiotic relationship with the British press. I could say the British media. Each of them needs the other for his own interests. And I'm now using old-fashioned English. His applies to everything. The royal family need the exposure that the press will give them, which will then create, they think, or generate interest amongst the populace, which will therefore keep the royal family relevant and popular. And the fact that they are as popular as they are shows that is working very well. The press, on the other hand, need the royal family because they are constant superstars in a world where there are intermittent and sometimes fleeting superstars. Also, most superstars are related in some way, shape, or form to the entertainment industry. They are notoriously unreliable in terms of public service when they are so inclined, and by and large they're not. When they are, it's one event a year or two events a year, and they might, if they're very generous, write checks, but they might do 2% of what a royal will do 100% of on an annual basis. So you would need 50 mega celebrities to fulfill the role of one working royal. You can see how important the royals are in terms of national life and in terms of the media. However, the royals don't like any more than I or anybody else in the public eye likes when the press impose themselves and when they poke their nose into our private affairs and come up with information that we would prefer remained hidden. So you could say there is an adversarial element built in, because the royals would prefer to always have anodyne, adulatory attention the way Harry and Meghan are aiming to achieve it via their objectives in resculpting the media? And do you think many of the other royals are going to complain? Do you think Hugh Grant, because that's his objective as well, or Elton John, because that's his objective as well, do you think any of them is going to complain? Or do you think they're going to be jubilant? So that's where the being a public figure coincides with a desire for being left alone and not having your private business plastered all over the newspapers. That coincides with the desire for censorship. Now, I'm not saying the King and the Prince of Wales are in favour of censorship, but Harry certainly is. And I can tell you, 99% of the people I know in the public eye would love to have their boundaries, the fence around their private life, so impenetrable. In other words, censorship so active that nobody would ever be able to look in and see what they can do or are doing or will be doing. So do you begin to see where even those who are not going to be actively pushing for censorship might actually welcome it? I just make that point for what it's worth. Now, you then have curry favourers, suck-up merchants, who think, oh, well, this is the mood of the moment. I'll use Caroline Noakes, the MP, who has recently called for GB News to be shut down. I will use her as an example, or Caroline Dinenage, who is the chairman of the Culture, Media and Sport Committee in Parliament, who seems to be skirting very close to wanting to regulate all television output in this country. Why are they doing it? They're public figures. They're surrounded by public figures. They're not very famous public figures. I mean, Caroline Danage's father was a minor actor, I think, or entertainer. And so she's sort of been brought up in this media world where and Caroline Noakes, sorry, I mean, never heard of her until recently, and I'd never met her at any event. So let me put it this way. Is she grade A or grade C? Well, she's certainly throwing herself around as if she's grade A, but I don't think she's ever going to reach those heights. Nevertheless, people like that, the lure of, because remember, most well-established people in the public eye don't want press attention. Only weirdos want press attention. Only attention-seeking, maladjusted misfits want constant media attention. And Meghan, if the shoe fits, please feel free to wear it. Well, those personalities, these wannabes, jump on the bandwagon and they beat the drum rather more loudly than the well-established figures. I've seen it time again. Nothing like an Arivist or a convert to be fanatical in his or her expression. So, you now have Harry on the Aspen Institute, and you have him arguing for cleaning up what he regards as dirty thoughts. Well, we just seen recently that one stray comment from a popular presenter has brought down 3 careers. And we had Piers Morgan's career destroyed by saying he didn't believe a word Meghan said. So these are not people who are advocating for anything criminal. They're just either articulating their beliefs or espousing sometimes tasteless and other times noble sentiments, even if tastelessly expressed. But their careers are being destroyed. They are being no-platformed. They are being cancelled. That is censorship in action. Then you have the changes in the Murdoch organization with Rupert Murdoch, who, it has to be said, is very familiar with how low the media are and how despicably they often operate. One of the few media organizations I would say I have had any respect for in recent years has been the Telegraph Group, latterly under the control of the Berkeley family. Putting them aside, most of the others I would hardly commend the way they have been operating, and I include Rupert Murdoch's organization, certainly in this country, in that number. However, he's now come out in favour of freedom and truth and spilled the beans on how despicable all of his colleagues are. I think he might have been looking in the mirror at the same time, but we're not going to go there. You then have, attendant on all of these changes in the Murdoch Group, which is regarded as relatively right-wing, but is not pro-monarchist. You have the fact that the Telegraph is in a state of flux at the moment, and is possibly being bid for by Sir Paul Marshall and the American billionaire Dan Griffin, so that, and Sir Paul Marshall owns GB News, which Conservative MPs like Caroline Noakes have been trying to get shut down. I mean, the outrageousness of a Conservative MP trying to get the only centrist broadcasting group in this country shut down is beyond belief. However, I should correct myself, because there is now also Talk TV. And Talk TV is the Murdoch wing of the broadcasters. So there's not much room, they think, for two similarly centrist to right organizations broadcasting in this country when everybody else is uniformly to the left and follows the party line as dictated by the illiberal neo-puritanical cabal who believe that what they say is so, and if you disagree, you are evil. Attendant upon all of this, you then have David Sherborne, the lawyer, who has been acting on behalf of Elton John and Hugh Grant to try to tie up the media in this country so that it is throttled and therefore has to follow a censored line of reportage. And they have been using as their hatchet man a convicted criminal called Dan Evans, who set up something called By Times, which is, I mean, it's a joke. You know, it's the diseased commenting on those who have been performing in not quite as disgraceful and disgusting and sickening a manner and diseased a manner as he has. Well, I have to tell you, I don't trust a former criminal to actually accurately convey facts, and I know that they have been behind trying to destroy Dan Wootton's career, because Dan Wootton has been very anti Harry and Meghan and very pro freedom of speech. Now, I am not saying that Dan, by his own admission, has not made errors of judgment. But the way they have gone after him and the way they have gone about it, and they have been hammering home to get him taken off the air. And lo and behold, he's not on the air anymore. Also, the enemies of freedom of speech have used Dan's difficulties, created and manufactured in large measure by the convicted criminal Dan Evans and By Times in the most dubious manner. They have been trying to rope and now have roped in the police. And let's remember, the police are, some of them are very decent and noble, but there are police officers who are very, well, you only need to see, they took the knee, They allow Extinction Rebellion to run riot. They assist Extinction Rebellion in running riot. However, if you're being assaulted, they 9 times out of 10 won't come and help you. If you've been burgled, they can't be bothered. Shopkeepers, it's like the Wild West. They can't be bothered. But they will go after scalps. And they take great pride in going after scalps. Credits. Well, all of this is being used to bring down not only Meghan and Harry's and anybody else who, like Dan Wooten, who has been an outstanding critic of theirs, but also who stands for freedom of speech. And in the process, damaging GB News, which they would love to bring down. But this recent kerfuffle with Lawrence Fox, Dan Wooten, and Calvin, it has been, I'm trying to find a delicate way of putting it. It has been an opportunity for them to try to destroy GB News. But GB News's owner is equally determined it won't. And this is the equivalent, this crisis at GB News is the equivalent of the crisis that hit the royal family when Ngozi Fulani 3 times tried to involve Camilla and failed, and then managed to involve Sue Hussey and succeeded. And as we all know, Prince William was quick to move to contain the damage. And GB News, I have no doubt, because it is run by very intelligent people, will contain the damage and will negotiate out of these treacherous waters and not crash asunder upon the rocks which have been created by the illiberal neo-puritanical elite who are trying to destroy it so that they can muzzle GB News. And then, you see, they'd feel, oh, well, we'll have Talk TV, and Talk TV's more manageable than GB News. Well, I hope that explains it. And I hope you see how there doesn't need to actually be a conspiracy for interlocking interests to push things in a detrimental and destructive direction. Justine J. says, question for Lady C. Curious to know, what whispers do you hear of how the other royal families of Europe or Asia feel about the Montecito duo? Well, I know the non-European royals that I'm aware of absolutely cannot believe what has happened and how it has been allowed to continue to the extent that it has. They have a lot of sympathy for the British royal family, but they would have taken sterner steps sooner to prevent the perpetuation of the drama and the crisis. However, I will say that within the crisis, by being the perfect foil for the dutiful and good conduct of the other royals, in fact, Harry and Meghan have actually inadvertently shone or allowed a light to be shone upon the sterling work the other royals do. So in some ways, the cloud has had a silver lining. The European royal families, well, the ones I know, and I'm not going to say which ones those are, absolutely deplore what's happened. They despise Meghan. They think the whole thing is an absolute outrage. They have a great deal of sympathy for Charles. They had for the Queen, the late Queen, and they have for Charles. They have for Camilla as well. And they have a great deal of sympathy for William and Catherine. I know that one of the European royal families, closely related to our royal family, has had fears that the outcome would be far more negative and destructive than the fears that Harry's British family had for him. Because when I wrote my book, I recounted how the family was really concerned that the marriage would ultimately fail and that Harry would render a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Let's put it that way, this being YouTube. Well, some of his continental relations have felt that not only would he cross the Styx, but he would take Meghan as company. And worse, that he might be so distraught and impassioned that an even greater tragedy could ensue, which I will not specify. This being YouTube, but you can use your imagination. I personally, it had never occurred to me, and I'm not sure that I actually would regard that as a realistic fear, but it is their fear. So, and let's not forget that last year in Holland, King Willem Alexander made it absolutely clear that he would not receive Harry and Meghan. And they got no royal privileges whatsoever. They were treated as if they were non-royal. I think that should give some indication of how other people feel about it all. Pamela Varilone says, any and every news item that includes her name has been fed by her many PR teams to news offices all over the country. It's a win-win for both parties. No need to add more journalists to the payroll. Agencies are spoon-fed their stories and byline. So one party saves money and meets payroll while the other gets 24/7 news feeds. Well, Pamela, very lonely. I agree with you because you actually just said what I've been saying now for some considerable length of time. It also explains why sometimes they waver. For instance, the Mail has recently been cheering Meghan and Harry on as if they are best friends. Why? Because they need a change of pace, you know. A well constructed play has, well, let me take it another way. A well constructed piece of music will have an introduction, a rondo. There will be slow movements, there will be themes that come and go, there will be a great climax, and then there will be the end. Well, you need variations as well within the reporting. So the Mail got itself a reputation for being quite robust in speaking the truth about Harry and Meghan. So now they've cravenly folded and they're lying. Or to put it another way, they're just cutting and pasting and acting as if every single news report out of Montecito should be treated with the respect that you would treat the truth, even though they know the truth in that case is often a three-letter word beginning with L. So, a jewelaholic says, love it. Do you have a lot of jewelry? I love jewelry. I heard Meghan Markle is in negotiations with the network to do more episodes of Suits, with her getting $1 million an episode. Have you heard if there is any truth to this rumor? I think those photos put up by a castmate benefited them both, if it helps negotiations move forward. I could imagine he and she having pre-planned her demand to pull the pics down for more publicity. Quite. I would put nothing past Meghan. Remember, Harry's the one who said Meghan is capable of anything. And Patrick J. Adams has been such a cheerleader of hers. But then I think he knows which side his bread is buttered on. And he obviously had a good experience of her before, and I'm all in favor of continuing loyalty. If you've had a good experience with someone, why jump ship just because others have screamed that it's sinking? So I'm actually a great admirer of loyalty. So I'm not going to recriminate with him on that basis. And also, what's he been doing since? I don't think he's been doing very much, do you? I haven't seen him doing anything. So maybe he needs the work. That's something else again, no? As for Meghan getting $1 million an episode for Suits, oh dear. No, she's going to get $50 million an episode. She's going to be the highest paid actress in the world. I'm also a total philanthropist, and I believe in family and love and compassion. Everything I say is true, including the fact I'm going to get $10 million, or is it $50 million an episode? Yeah, I'm going to be the highest paid actress in the world. That's right. And I'm going to present the Oscars last year. Remember? I presented the Oscars last year. You remember? The announcement was made and I did. It's just that the whole world has a defective memory and nobody seems to recall that fact. Well, if you think she's going to get $1 million an episode for Suits, you know, these revivals very seldom work. And Meghan is so unpopular that I think people would actually flood in to watch her in the hope that she made a bigger ass of herself than she has already made. And of course, they'd have to have impassioned scenes with her and Patrick J. Adams now that they're married. And Nicole Renee says, I understand Meghan doesn't own a title, therefore nothing to give up, as it were. But if she keeps the Duchess title upon divorce and then runs for office, then she'd have to relinquish it, right? No, she doesn't, because it has no legal status in America. I think she would be very ill-advised to try to run on a ticket as the Duchess of Sussex, but she could run as Meghan Sussex. That's her legal name. She could do that. So she, with her, it's just a name. It's just a name. I think all of this, though, is pointless speculation, because I really don't think, according to what I've heard from people in the Democratic Party, that Meghan stands a chance of being treated seriously for any of the big roles that she has in mind. And I'm afraid, Mr. DeMille, I'm nothing but a star. And I'm not taking small roles. I need the biggest role of all. I need to be President of the United States of America. POTUS. To match my flatus. And Catherine Riggs says, I don't believe Meghan Markle was even considered. I think it's just another PR piece to keep her being talked about. Absolutely. As I said some time ago, she was trying to nobble Gavin Newsom. He refused to take her calls, I was told. And there was no way she was going to be considered, and she wasn't. Who do you think leaked all those stories about Meghan being an outsider, except Meghan's PR people? Look, Meghan's so fabulous. She's so wonderful. She stands a chance, outside chance, but she's in the running. She's in the running. She's very important. So look at her on Netflix. Look at her on Spotify. Sorry, Spotify cancelled her. I'm so remiss. Naughty me. And on that note, I'll say, I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to speak about. Okay? Thank you so much. God bless. And if you've truly liked this, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed.